Hello and welcome into week 6 of the Winter Equestrian Festival. It's the Cast Grand Prix week and of course it is Hunter week as well. Lots going on in there and we're looking forward to an exciting week of literally competition wall to wall. I think every arena is going at full pelt this week, and so we're going to be talking a little bit of that and also talking a wrap up of last week as well, of how that all came together with a fantastic 5-star week with a win for McLean Ward in that Fidelity Investments Grand Prix, and a fantastic lineup once again who's joining me here to run down and take us through how some of the action unfolded. And delighted to say to me, Jimmy Torano is joining us. Jimmy, hot off a win, literally just out of the ring.
Yeah, I just came running over and won a green class. Not a big deal, but it's still a nice win this week. It's a big Hunter week. We got Nick to contend with all week. As you know, he's been on fire on both coasts, so always nice to take a win.
Absolutely. Sam Walker, I'm going to come to you in between. Sam, busy week back onto the 3 stars, but we were discussing your Hunter career a few moments ago as well.
Yeah, I did a ton of Hunters when I was growing up, and I remember showing in the junior Hunter division actually in the international ring here at WEF, so it's always a fun week, week 6, you know, you look out and you see something different, so I'm excited, and I'm sure all these professional riders are thrilled to get in the big ring.
Well, young rider medalist, and of course last year adding the Derby at Calgary as well, so it's been a pretty big one for you. Nick Haness, lovely to have you here, Nick. You have literally been going coast to coast in the last few weeks.
Yes, definitely. I've been on the airplane a lot, back and forth between California and Wellington. Have a great group of horses to show, so I'm having a lot of fun. Coming off of a great year last year, one of my most probably favorite years of my career, winning the WCHR Pro Finals and the national title.
Well, you're currently topping the rankings over in California as well at the moment. So, Jimmy, are they quaking in their boots that he's turned up this week?
You know, every week he's come here, he's had a great week. Nick, every time he comes east, you see him in Kentucky, you see him at Capital Challenge indoors. He's always a big threat. As he said, he's got a great group of horses. He rides some nice horses for Carlton Brooks. He's got some amazing horses for the Carrot family, Tom Wright. So he's got a great string of horses underneath him.
Nick, what are you looking forward to this week? Getting stuck in there on Saturday night and get the job done?
I'm looking forward to the whole week. It's a great week to be here. Everyone's on their A game. Best hunters in the country, best riders, so it's a really fun week to participate here in Wellington. Of course, everyone's trying to battle their way to earning their spots in Saturday night's class, which is going to be a really fun class to ride in and hopefully watch the rest of the class as well. I have actually two free buys into the class Saturday night from last year's results. I won the Spectacular in California last year, and I won the Pro Finals, so I have these 2 free passes in. So for me, it's kind of a low-stress week as far as qualifying, but of course, now it's just figuring out which horses will go best on Saturday night.
So you're chilled and ready to go. Jimmy, you've got to get in there.
I do. I've got a young mare, Green, that won a class last week and the week before, so we've got 2 classes in the big ring tomorrow. I have high hopes. She did the Derby in this ring a couple weeks ago, and she was 5th in that, so the big stage doesn't seem to faze her.
Well, we had a big week last week as well. Of course, we're into Hunter week this week with that Hunter Spectacular on Saturday night. But last Saturday night was the first of the 5-star weeks, that Fidelity Investments Grand Prix coming up. That was an exciting one to get us really into the meat of the season. Jimmy, a win for McLean Ward and Callis. We're going to hear from him in a few moments' time. But it was just pretty spectacular.
It was. I mean, he had a tremendous week. He won the big class Saturday night. He won again on Sunday. He won the 150. But the 5-star class, as we said, when Kent Farrington went, it looked like it was over. Then Derek Kenny came in, and you thought for sure he had won the class, and McLean went in and took seconds or a second plus off of him. I think he really believes in that mare. He has high hopes for her. I think that maybe his horse is going to take to the World Cup finals, maybe the next championship. So she's been knocking at the door. She's been right there every time, and what a way to come through and win a big class.
Well, we're going to pull that apart in a second because it was exciting stuff. Let's hear from McLean himself of what he had to say after winning, well, his first big win of the week. It was 2 in total for McLean Ward on week 5.
I've had the ride on Callis about a year come this June. She was always a spectacular horse with Annie Reavers, her and her family, Lisa and Beechwood Stables, own Contagious. She's just been getting better and better, had some great results, knocking on the door, and it was nice to get a big win tonight. It was a good jump off for me because there were a lot of left turns, and she turns to the left quicker. Got a good shot, 1-2, Plank showed up well, and then that was a difficult spot. I was actually worried to the Airmaze Oxer she might turn too fast, but it showed up, she made a great effort, and then just tried to keep it together. I was lucky a couple of the really fast ones had one down. Wellington is, a mecca of show jumping, as we know, particularly on the winter tour. Great evening, great sport, and a packed house, and I think it makes the horses and riders rise to the occasion, and it's great for us, and I hope a great show for them.
Well, Sam, there's nothing like finishing the evening soaked in champagne.
It's got to be the best feeling in the world, I mean, winning a class such as that, a 5-star Grand Prix, as everyone knows, McLean has multiple under his belt, but I think no matter the occasion, it always feels special. Especially on a horse, like Jimmy said, that's up and coming, and a mare that he has high hopes for. I think McLean will be very, very happy with his victory, and not only on Saturday night, but on Sunday as well.
Absolutely. Well, it was a big week, as we said, with 2 wins for him into the Classic as well then on Sunday, Jimmy. You talked about a little bit of the contenders in there. It was a real star-studded class.
It was, when you look down the start list, that was a strong list, big course. That was very difficult for Frank to build that. But it seems like every year, you go back to Scott Brash and Ben Mayer going head-to-head back in the old days, it seems like the 5 stars here, everyone gets up for those classes, and it's a tough class to win.
Yeah, it was. Frank Rothenberger, the course designer, last week as well from Germany. Of course, we changed you around through the season. Nick, you didn't have to get involved in that, but you know the atmosphere of what happens here.
It's incredible. Yeah, just the special classes they put on here, and those nighttime classes with all those top jumpers and all the best riders. It's definitely inspirational to watch that. They're just incredible.
Well, it's your lights this week. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Jimmy, let's talk a little bit of the difficulty of what Frank Rothenberger set last week as well. The first we're going to look at is a line that was coming across the arena, water tray underneath the palm trees there, and it caught out quite a few. It played a big part in how the evening played here, and then to this yellow vertical. But he was testing them all the way, but this was particularly difficult.
Yeah, that jump came down all night. It was a very difficult jump. When you talk about at night, under the lights, the light shining down in that Liverpool with water in it, and it's a real test. I mean, that jump came down over and over and over. And for sure, at night it becomes a different class.
And we were talking in commentary a little bit about how some were just starting to cut the corner. You've got to get yourself straight. It really did take strategy to get this one right.
It did, and as the class went on, they seemed to master it in the end. I thought the course was huge. He had the double of planks was massive. He had big verticals throughout. But, in the end, he had plenty of clear rounds. But again, we talk about that star-studded lineup that he had in there. I mean, you had the best of the best. Unfortunately, we're missing Ben Mayer because he had the accident the week before. But you had some top riders. You had United Touch in there, who's been on fire. So many great ones.
Absolutely. Well, again, a hallmark of a Frank Rothenberger course as well is big. He builds arc, and he's built some of those big championships all the way throughout. He's known for that, and he certainly gets results. Sam, we're going to take a look as well on that final line down there of how that played out for some of the riders too. It wasn't easy, but that's the whole point of it. Frank, again, as you know, builds big, builds tough. Here was Tiffany Foster. She finished just on the 3 time faults in the end. And again, you played with the distances here, and if you were a stride back anyway, you were stuck.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going back to Jimmy's point, I do agree the class was huge, and I was lucky enough to sit right beside that line all night long and watch it. And you saw a lot of people come out of the turn, and it was almost a little bit of a half stride, so you had to figure out whether you're going to kick for one less or you're going to pull for one more, which in turn made the 5 strides. And for some horses actually turn into 6. So, I think it caused quite a few problems, as you can see on the screen. But again, like Jimmy said, it was a star-studded lineup, the best of the best shown.
What did you learn from it?
I always appreciate watching a big class, and something that I always keep in mind and that I try and watch is how calm certain riders ride. Sometimes, we can have younger horses that maybe that's their first 5-star Grand Prix, others horses that are very experienced. But the ones that really stood out for me are those who were calm. Like, for example, watching Daniel Deutsche there has a trip, and it doesn't faze him.
Yeah.
So the recovery and the reflexes of all these athletes is, it's second to none. And watching them is a real pleasure. And I think, when we see them out and around every day, they become friends and almost co-workers. But to watch them ride is truly a pleasure.
And Nick, just watching Nick, McLean bend the line there.
Yeah, McLean came in on that Oxer and kind of put a bending line to make that 6 fit for him, which was obviously probably a brilliant idea on his behalf to make that line fit for his horse. So that's just track, right? So that's a really cool thing.
Having the response all the time.
Yeah.
The responses you needed in the jump off, Jimmy, you had to be exceptional. We're going to take a look at a few of the names that were in that jump off as well, because the star-studded cast was then taken down to certainly those that feature in the film would be put under as and featuring and the big names that were really in there. Let's take a look at a few of those. Lars Kirsten, just 23 years of age as he was this week. Richard Vogel, United Touch S, has really jumped out at us.
Yeah, this is an amazing animal, one Stuttgart, with just the stride on this horse. I don't know if watching from home they can appreciate it. When he won Stuttgart, he left 2 strides out in every single line in the jump off. But again, so many great ones. And when you talk about those top 3 or 4 on any given night, they could have been the winner.
Yeah.
It's just McLean, having to go after those 2, let everything, he left nothing. No doubt in his mind that he was going to go for the class. And I think when Kent landed there, he thought he had won. I think when Dara went through the timers, he thought he had won. And, McLean said, hold on, boys, I'm still coming.
I don't think I'd ever want to have McLean go after me in a jump off. I think if there's anybody that can win a class, it's him.
And one that really stepped up was Natalie Dean, Sam.
For sure. I mean, I've ridden alongside Natalie Dean on the Major League show jumping circuit on the same team together. A couple years ago. She's come a long way. She has a fantastic string of horses, and I think it's very exciting to see her not only compete in these 5-star Grand Prix, but be very competitive. So she's definitely one to watch in the upcoming season.
And here was a little of McLean. Nicola Philipparts tried to take a turn. It put them under pressure. Didn't work out for him. We're going to take a look at McLean versus Dara Kenny a second. But, he was... Jimmy, he was just so efficient all the way around, McLean, and especially early on. We'll take a look at that and pull that apart. But, that goes into one of those classic Grand Prix, doesn't it?
He took every gamble. Every vertical he took on the slice. The Oxer he cut back on. There was nowhere where he really played it safe, in my opinion. In talking to him after the class, he said, maybe I could have done one less down the last line. But he did enough. He sliced everywhere. And, again, I think he has a lot of trust in that mare. Has high hopes for her. He said early on in the circuit she's going to win something big this year, and the first 5-star he was right.
Well, you don't bet against McLean. That's the point. If he says it's going to win, go with it.
Yeah, I think I know you've heard him say a lot of times. Kent's coming behind him. He's younger, and I think that was good that Kent went before him in the jump off, and he thought, this young kid, I got to show him I'm still here.
Well, let's take a look at McLean versus Dara Kenny. That was the 1-2 in the Grand Prix in the end. And Jimmy, it was really interesting how this played out, because you say McLean did put the pressure on, but Dara early on was keeping up with him.
Yeah, it's amazing when you watch a class and you think that rider's up, and then all of a sudden they jump another jump, and you say, wait, no, he's up, and it switches just a little bit right there. McLean's just slightly ahead, and you keep watching. That happens a lot when you watch these side-by-side videos. Again, there McLean definitely looks like he's ahead. He leaves the ground, lands here quicker for sure.
And that was
but
really
then,
interesting.
Right here, again, McLean's still ahead.
Yep.
But then when he lands, I think Dara gets away from that jump quicker than McLean. And they're pretty close. But, again, on that night, I think, any other night, probably Dara would have been the winner. I mean, all 3 of those, when you talk about Kent, McLean, and Dara, that was good enough to win anywhere on any given night.
Absolutely. You're looking forward to the next few 5-stars, I'm sure.
I am. You get keyed up for every big class here. Saturday Night Lights here is a big deal. I think what they've done, I think really Wellington was the start of that. Everywhere else in the country has sort of copied that. Yeah. And I think everyone gets up for the class. And then when you bring in a 5-star class on top of it, it's a big deal. I think everyone brings their A game. They try to bring their top horse here. So, as Nick said, you get to see the best of the best. You're not seeing anybody come in with their second horse.
Well, it's a little move this week, because we're going to see the best in the hunter world this week, which is great. Nick, this is where you come into this one. Talk to me a little bit about this week and what it means and how it's played into your planning.
This is a very important week. It's a week that people plan for the whole circuit. They make a plan, they do their homework, they try to strategize which weeks to show, which weeks to give your horse a little bit of a rest before this week, perhaps. So when you get to this the stage this week, you got to bring your top A game, and I think everyone is doing that so far this week. The scores today in the rings were huge. I saw a lot of 90s, 91s, 92s, 93s. I got a few 92s today that were second place, so that's anytime you get second with a 92, you know you're in good competition, it's really fun. You know, it's obviously you want to win, but it's a top level of the sport, and you know it keeps you interested in trying to keep making your horses better and better. So this week is important. It caps off with a $100,000 WCHR class here at night on Saturday night. Really fun class. I've never won this class here before. I've won it in California, so it would be great to have that under my belt. But we're just optimistic to do our best and hope for a good luck on our side.
And how much have you been sort of keeping an eye on everybody else and who's doing what coming into this?
Definitely, as a competitor, you keep your eye on everybody. You try to study everyone else's horses and see what their strong suits were for the week, and if you can try to be a little bit better than them, then you're going to go for it.
Jimmy, I'm not going to put him on the spot, but who do you think could be some of the players here this week from that point?
You know, on a different level, this is the same thing as you talk about that 5-star. You talk about this big class in this big. You got Nick, you got John French, you got Scott Stewart, you've got Liza Boyd. I mean, there's so many. You know, unfortunately, Amanda Steege didn't bring Lafitte here this week, so we don't have that horse to contend with. But it's very similar to that 5-star week. You've got all the top hunter riders right here. We're missing maybe 1 or 2 from California, but the best of the best are here. And again, everyone's coming in with their best horse. They're not saving. As Nick said, everyone planned, strategized throughout the circuit. You know, maybe you have the horse that needed to show last week to build for this week, or you did the week before, my horse feels perfect, I'm going to give him the week off and have him shine week 6. So it's very similar, same game, you know, just in the hunter world.
Jimmy, what's your plan this week? Which horses are you going with?
You know, unfortunately, my top horse is not showing this week.
Yeah.
It had a little injury, and this would be pushing it to show this week. So I'm coming with a young mare. You know, I'm planning to watch the class. You know, and it's going to be exciting. You know, just like a big 5-star. Even if I'm not in the class, I want to watch. I'm going to root for these guys. I think you asked Nick or maybe Sam a minute ago about learning. I think every time you watch, you learn. So I've done this for a long time. I'm probably one of the older ones in this. But, you know, I like watching those classes. I like learning. Nick's way younger than I am, but watching him ride and the way he does it, and Scott Stewart and John French, everyone's got their own way. But in the end, you know, we all have a very similar system. So it's, you know, it's very enjoyable to watch. And I think you learn something from every one of these guys and girls.
Well, let's have a little look at the winner last year, which was Jeffrey Hesting from that point of view. We've got his round to just remind us of what that big night looks like. Jimmy, you were in the action here last year, as I remember.
I was right there. I think I was sitting behind him. I had a little hiccup in the second round. My horse stepped off his lead, but this is a unbelievable horse, a horse that came from the West Coast. Jeffrey had 2 beautiful rounds. He had, you know, great rounds building up to this. This is a horse that he actually didn't know that well coming into this. He hadn't had it that long, but a horse he could really count on. I believe this horse was running by Peter Lombardo, maybe in California on the West Coast.
And Hope Glen.
But just really a horse that we saw him the year before. We saw him. The East Coast riders had seen him at the indoor shows, and everyone had your eye on this horse. And then Jeffrey was lucky enough to get a client to buy him, and you know what a horse to have, and then have for this class. He could really count on him. But you know, I think he was the obvious winner this night, and you know, I'm sure he'll be coming again this week with another one.
Which, Nick, brings me to the point, what does it take to win this?
You know, to win this class, you know, requires a horse that is, you know, has all the bold and beauty that you're looking for in the hunter ring, and the presence like this horse has. One of the things most notable about this round, I think, was the consistency. His pace was always very consistent. The horse followed him beautifully around the arena. These are all components you look for and factor into a high score in a round. Great expression across this horse in his face and through his eye. Always looking with his ears forward to go to the next jump. And Jeffrey's in the nice 2-point galloping around that ring. It's a big arena. It's very bold and spooky at night with the lights on for the hunters, which adds a little bit of an element to the class. You hope for the best with your horses that night. You never really know until you know. So you're kind of just doing your best to do your homework and show up with your A game.
So, Nick, tell us about the horses you're planning this week.
This week, I have not quite figured out which one I'll use for Saturday night. I've got 2 horses to choose from. into use. So we're going to kind of see how the week goes and decide. I think one of the horses most likely I will use, his name is Jenkins. He was one of the horses that scored a 92 today. He's very brave. He was a horse I showed in Derby finals last year. He's owned by Laura Corrette and Alexa Corrette and trained by Tom Wright. So the horse is in a great program and he's in good care. So I think he's feeling pretty good this week to hopefully shine on Saturday night.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at a few of the rounds that over the last few weeks have been getting the headlines as well in the Hunter world. And one of those is John French, who was winning the Hunter Derby here just in the last few weeks. So let's take a look at that one. Again, Jimmy, I mean, you mentioned John and what good success he's had. He teams up with actually Kent Farrington, which is interesting because they both got into the Hunter world as well. John was obviously there. Kent has now got a part of it too.
I think John's been an unbelievable addition to Kent. I mean, he has now brought a lot of business into Kent's business. John's always been one of the best hunter riders. Originally, he actually was from the East Coast, but then went west, and he's been almost his whole life out on the West Coast, and now we have him back here, which is nice. This horse, Milagro, is a horse he can count on. I believe he's already won 3 or 4 Derbies this year.
Very reliable.
Can really pull out some high scores. I didn't get to see him go in the high performance today, but if he's in the class, he's one to look for sure. And no matter what John's riding in the class, you can count on him to be right there.
John's a ringer.
What's so good about John, Nick?
John French is just, I think he's a freak in the saddle. He can ride any horse. He can make any horse look like a great horse, which he has many great horses, but he is a master of just making anything look really easy. And following him is always a challenging task. He's cool in the ring. He never gets nervous. He's very consistent. John's always has his eye on the prize. He will put it all on the line to win a class, which is really fun to compete with him because you can appreciate his competitive nature. But horses really love him. They believe in him, and he goes in the ring and puts in a top round almost every time.
So we're looking at big scores this week. When you're talking up in the 90s, how are we getting up there? How are you lifting that up, Nick?
To score in the 90s, you're just, like I said, you've really prepared your horses for this week. You're trying to get the best jumps out of them. So, any given day, you train your horses in the schooling ring to get their form in top shape and go in the ring. And this week, I think, is a fun week to showcase that because the jumps are a little bit more bold. They're a little bit more full. They're definitely a bit spookier this week, which really makes the good horses jump even better. So this week, the high scores, I think, are coming from all of those factors, and I think everyone is just really, really prepared to shine and win this week.
Sam, you've competed in both. You enjoy competing in both. How has it developed for you? How has it helped your riding in both sides?
Well, I did a lot of junior hunters growing up. Yeah. My primary focus, obviously, has always been on the jumpers. And as a junior, I did a ton of equitation with Missing John. And
very successfully, we'll point out.
Thank you, yes. And I luckily had some great horses and a huge support team behind me that was able to push my equitation career to as far as we could take it. But yeah, growing up doing the hunters, it's helped me with tons of things. I mean, most importantly, I think having that even rhythm all the time. If you watch the top jumper riders in the world from Europe as well, they're very consistent with the rhythm and how they do, which actually they can all ride hunters very well too. But I think, I was just saying, I think that it definitely takes, I think if you want to be the best jumper rider you can possibly be, it is difficult to be the best hunter rider out here. So that's why the craft that is practiced in the hunter ring is so important, and I admire it because, on any given day, like Nick said, anybody can be the winner, and there's a lot of people that are really, really, really strong in this ring. So,
Nick?
I was just going to follow up with that. Jimmy is not only a great hunter judge, but he's also a great hunter rider. And I think one thing I love watching Jimmy is in the handies, and that's one of my favorite things as well. And I was just going to add on to Sam's comment, riding in the handy hunters, I think even for myself, crossing into the jumper rings back and forth as well, making a hunter make those turns and go gallop and turn and slice and dice, it does help you develop that trust with the horse and also the eye coordination, which it takes in the jumpers, like in the jump off classes where you have to really go for it. And I think that handy hunters do prepare you for that and vice versa. So it's kind of beneficial both ways.
Well, for sure. And also, I mean, we can ask Jimmy. Jimmy jumps at the highest level in the jumper ring every week and also goes and jumps in the highest level at the hunter ring. Yeah. So, he's a better one to ask than anyone.
You've got
on how
3-star
it
as well
benefits.
this week, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I think the other way. I think doing the jumpers makes the handy classes really easy for me. I'm not going to say I'm at an advantage, but it becomes very simple for me making those inside turns and turning back on the jumps. I think that becomes very easy for me coming from the jumper rings. But you know, as Sam says, the top riders, you know, the top riders in the world that do the jumpers, you know, years ago you had, you know, once end of the world that rode one way and other another way. The world has come together. I think everyone has the same style now. It might differ a little bit, but everyone has the same sort of style, and it becomes the same in the hunter ring. I mean, the whole world has sort of come more together, and I think the way we ride is very much similar now. But I think the jumpers really has helped me for the hunters. I think when I go into handy class, at least in my mind, I think, okay, this is my class. I can really get it done now.
Well, we're going to take a look at a big scoring combination here over the last couple of weeks as well. That was Holly Orlando with Calvary scoring 96. We even had 100%, I think, here a few years ago as well, didn't we, Jimmy? From that
Yeah, there's been a few hundreds over the years. I didn't get to see this round. Was this week?
Yes, earlier on this week, as far as I'm aware.
You know, I think
it's last week. Actually.
This was last week. Yeah, I think, you know, as Nick said, you know, I think just like us riders, we gear up and we get excited for this week. I think that the judges come in the same way. This is a big week. They get excited. They want to throw out big scores. I think this ring behind us really calls for this international ring. You can really open the stride up. You can gallop along. You know, this ring is definitely not a time to be boring and crawl around there. You've got to show a little brilliance. And I think the rest of the week we're going to see some big scores, and I think for sure Saturday night, I think you're going to see a lot of rounds in the 90s.
Absolutely. Well, showing this really to get you an idea of what plus 90 rounds look like over at the Green Hunters there, Nick. What was so nice about this that will get you up to those big scores? Obviously coming out of the Green Hunters here.
Holly's a great rider. You know, this round is looking very smooth. I wasn't here last week, but I'm watching this now, and you can just see the consistency in the stride. I think that's one of the most important terms you'll hear in the huntering is the consistency and the pace. The horse, again, has great expression, and it just goes to the jump very effortlessly. She's very quiet in the saddle and really lets the horse do all of the jumping and the work, and she leaves it alone. It's not manufactured. It's really pretty to watch. And this is, I think, why the score was so large.
For you, Nick, what's the thing you keep in your mind when you're going through a big round in a big competition like that? You know,
really, when I'm in the ring, I just think about what I can do to make my horse happy. So I was going around, and I feel like you're having a good round. You've got a few jumps left. You know, you just try to think to yourself to keep it cool and calm, and remember to help the horse, you know, produce the best jump they can make, and hope that they do that for you.
I'm going to put you two on the spot. Sam, you're safe at this point. Big picks for this week. Have we got that far yet?
You know, again, I'm going to take Nick on anything he's riding. You know, John French is a huge threat, and Scott Stewart has an unbelievable group of horses. So you've really got to look for those to be there Saturday night. And again, I don't want to count anyone out. Eliza's great. Holly's amazing. I think we just watched that round. I don't think you can really appreciate how good that round was by watching it on the screen. When you watched it live, it showed even more brilliance than that. But again, there's just so many great riders. But you know, Nick going back and forth. He goes to California. You read, oh, Nick won. He comes here, oh, Nick won. So you got to put Nick right in there. You know, whether he was sitting here or not, I'm going to take Nick for one of those top spots.
Aside from blushing now,
thank you.
Your top contender going in. Who you've been keeping an eye on? Who are your threats? Do you think? Let's turn it around that way.
I totally. What Jimmy said was spot on. You know, all of the riders here this week are going to come to that class on Saturday night, and each one of us can have a great night and win the class. You know, Scott has a great string of horses. He's obviously done this many years. He's the king of the hunters here in Wellington, in my opinion, and he would definitely be one to watch out for. Liza's fantastic. There's also a handy element to the class, so she's a very strong handy rider and has a nice horse. I think drum line or drum rolls in the class. Very strong partnership with that horse. She showed him earlier this year in Kentucky and did quite well. So you know, Victoria Colvin, if she qualifies, is always a contender. She's won the class a few times. So this week is just going to be a battle of who can be the best on Saturday night, and just luck is on your side.
So he's gone for you. You're sitting on the fence.
I'm on the fence. If he had Moscato here, he would definitely be contender.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to talk jumping once again now. And Sam, to come to you, U25s and the 3-star jumping this week, the cask week as well. Over on the field, we're going to be over there. For you, you're into the 3-star this week. You're obviously still classified as under 25. I know Jimmy's only just out of that. But you're going to be in contention for the U25. What are you bringing forward?
So this week I have a very experienced mare in Evita. She's going to jump the speed class in the 150.
But she won the Calgary Derby on.
Exactly. She won the Derby at Spruce Meadows this past year, so she's coming off of quite a hot season. I'm very lucky to have the ride on her. And then I have the opposite. I have a young, up-and-coming mare that jumped some bigger classes last year. Her name's Nalu Quality. She's a full daughter of Numero Uno. And I don't know, it's her first week showing international here. I'm very lucky. My rider, I'm the rider, my trainer and rider, Uli Kirchhoff, the double gold medalist.
Actually, double gold medal at the Olympic Games.
He's been riding her, so I'm very lucky.
Well, a little shot of another horse that you've acquired recently is Ivanhoe. Tell us a little bit about this one, because this was in the National Grand Prix.
Yes, Ivanhoe came from Ellen Whitaker, and is owned by Amy Mason out of Great Britain. Very lucky to have acquired the ride on this horse. You know, he's very, I'd say he's more classical type, a little bit larger, very scopy, lots of natural blood. Definitely a new partnership, but in such a short time we've come a long way, and I think that he has a big future ahead of him. He's just young, having just turned 10 years old. You know, the horse rides like he's been doing it forever, and he's still young and green, so it's very exciting, and I'm hoping to maybe step into a couple of the 5-star Grand Prix on the latter half of the season here at WEF.
MSU 25 this week as well. You're going to sit it out this week from that point of view.
I am. I jumped week 2, had a great week, was clear in 3rd in the Welcome, one unlucky pole in the Grand Prix, and we were also clear in 2nd in the team event. So 2 different horses over both of those weeks, but great results. And this week I focused more on the 3-star, but I hope to week 8 I'll be back in there under the lights with something different.
Jimmy, you haven't got Uli Kirchhoff in your corner, unfortunately, but you've got loads of experience. You've been there and done it. Jimmy, what are your plans this week? Because you've got, again, two really nice horses to go through. We've been seeing here. Tell us about both.
I do. I'm going to show Chewbacca this week. He jumped the 4-star here 2 weeks ago. I believe this might be. Yep. He jumped clear. Unfortunately, had a time fault, which was a shame, and jumped the 3-star here under the lights as well, clear with time fault. So I need to pay a little more attention. The horse has been jumping very, very well. He had a great year last year, and now he's really gotten very consistent. The rideability's gotten better. Horse with a lot of scope. Very careful. You think of him as just a big, slow horse, but the horse really wants to leave the jumps up. This is our first week on the field, but he did show this summer a couple times on the grass. So I think he'll handle it quite well, and I have high hopes for this winter.
You've got another very good horse in your string at the moment. You've been bringing.
I do. I have a horse just turned 9 years old, Coach Josie, that as an 8-year-old won several Grand Prix throughout the year. He had a great week here as my second horse. I'm not showing him this week, but he'll come back out again in 2 weeks. I'll use him as my second horse, and then later on he'll be my main horse in a couple of those classes.
Good. Looking forward to a big week over there. Jimmy, you're going to be very busy. Sam, you've got a bit of an easy one, haven't you?
Yeah, I have an easy week, but we can't forget I also have my 8-year-old, Fizzy Tart, who's also come from Great Britain. She'll do the Open Meter 40 and maybe the National Grand Prix. So I do stay busy. I always have tons of jumpers in the Open Meter 25, 30, 40, and all the way up through the FEI ranks here. So I'm very lucky to be so well horsed, and you know, that's what it takes. So
looking forward to that.
Yes, exactly.
Nick, well, it's your week.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully. Well, thank you very much to all three of you. Massive week ahead of us, as we say, here at WEF this week. You can follow all the live streaming on all the rings all week with us as well. Saturday night, of course, is that WCHR Peter Weatherall Palm Beach Hunter Spectacular. You can tune in for that. Sunday, we're over jumping on the grass there with the MSU 25 Grand Prix and with that cask 3-star Grand Prix as well. Tune in daily to wellingtoninternational.com, and it's all brought to you by Wellington Equestrian Realty. Thank you to my guests. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Sam. Nick, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you all. Have a great week. Enjoy. Week 6, I think this is about halfway point of the Winter Equestrian Festival for 2023. We'll get our breath. Off we go for another big one. We'll see you throughout the week here in Wellington.